Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Will to Hunt podcast. I'm your host, Will Jenkins, joined by my co host, Trent March. Before we get into it too far, let's always ask you to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast. And you can leave comments there and interact with the show, or just hit me up on social media at the Will to Hunt on all social platforms, and we can continue the conversation there. And today we're going to talk about the ammo shortage.
Dun dun dun, right? Like that's what everybody's talking about these days, right? No
Yeah.
ammo, no guns, no nothing. Society in downfall. Doesn't matter. Got my gun, can't find ammo, right? It's everybody's issue.
Yep.
I don't know.
I,
It's go ahead.
I insulated myself by accident to the ammo shortage, and that's because I'm disorganized and I forget what I own. So each season I just buy another box, even though I never actually shoot or kill anything. So like I built redundancy and like padding in because I was just too dumb to realize I already had enough.
Enough.
So like I have a ton of turkey. Well, and that's about all that's on the shelf right now is turkey loads. Like I went into the local fleet farm and there were it was 28 gauge steel, like upland. I think it was like probably number 5, number 6 shot, and 12 and 20 gauge TSS turkey loads, but only like a total of 8 boxes. And this is a place that has 4 aisles of ammo. That was all that was there, was a total of maybe like 14 boxes. But like I have, like I said, I don't shoot a lot. I don't do target shooting either, like clays or something where you just burn through stuff. And I don't hunt waterfowl where you burn through rounds too crazy. So I've just got stuff. So
Right.
as things started to disappear last year, I had like my usage level, like 3 years worth of ammo just sitting, because over the last 3 years, I bought double or triple what I needed because I didn't realize what I still had at home. And then when I got organized, I was like, oh, a case of upland ammo should do because
Right.
it's just here
Should
already.
last
I
a
didn't
while.
even realize.
Yeah. And that's the other part that kind of makes it tricky is like, I mean, anytime you're going to talk about it, anytime you're going to give somebody advice for it, like what you happen to be doing is going to dictate a lot of your need usage. You know,
Yeah.
what is it you're going to need to do? I think I probably do a lot more target and rifle and just kind of overall shooting,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot more what you're doing is more the in the field, you know, that, and I do some of that, but I think a lot more of mine is more bench punch paper. You know, doing, you know, been doing a lot more product reviews here
Yeah.
lately between rifles and ammunition and optics. Like you're gonna burn ammo because you have
Yeah.
to do a proper review. So my usage in the last couple of years has gone up, and same thing. I was a little more insulated for it, because I was kind of preparing to keep more on hand even before
Mm-hmm.
things started getting really silly.
Yep.
um, and then, you know, we've been through a few of these now where we see things, you know, these ammo short, it's not, this is probably the third one in the last decade.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see it coming if you're paying a little bit of attention.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, last March, my antenna went up pretty quick, and I'm like,
Yeah.
might just be worth the investment to jump in on it. But even broader strokes, you can insulate yourself quite a bit from these scenarios with a little bit of planning, a little bit of forethought. And I thought we'd take an episode and walk through kind of my thought process and how I've
Mm-hmm.
approached this. It may not be right for everybody, and there may be people that tell me I'm crazy, and I'm fine with that approach. But just wanted to run through kind of how I prep for that. And really it's two things. It's consolidation and its redundancy.
Mm-hmm.
And primarily, I came by this plan not as a strategic ammo conservation mechanism, but
Right.
because I was once very, very, very broke
Yeah.
and still wanted to be able to hunt and shoot. Right. So to me, the term inch deep, mile wide, you know, really kind of comes to mind
Mm-hmm.
here. Right? You know, there's always another gun you want to add to the gun safe. right? Like
Oh
that's just
yeah,
always
yeah.
the case. There's always one more, a different gauge, a different caliber, a different configuration, a different brand. There's another gun you want. And I am 100% all the way here for keep adding guns as often as you want to.
Right. Yeah.
There's just don't talk yourself out of adding another. If you want to go add another gun, go add another gun.
Right. Yeah.
But my approach to it has always been that I would rather have some of that consolidation and redundancy built into, I know the rounds that I like to shoot. I know the calibers that I like to shoot. For my handgun purposes, I like the 9mm. And
Yeah.
you can, all the caliber shamers that say, yeah, it's
Yeah.
that's a, what a sissy gun. You need a 45. That's fine. Let me put 3 rounds of 9 in your thigh and tell me how quick you're going to walk that off. Like
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
not interested in having that argument with anybody. That gives me a lot more insight into you than it does me.
Right. Yeah.
So, but for my purposes, for a semi-automatic handgun, it's going to be a 9mm. It just is.
Mhm.
I like the round. The people that I live and shoot with are comfortable shooting a 9mm, so that if
Mhm.
for some reason I'm not the one shooting and someone else needs to, well, that's great. I don't, if something gets crazy and I have to, my kid right now is almost 4, but even in another half a dozen years, 10 or 12-year-old kid has to use a handgun for some reason to, because of a crazy situation. Do I want him trying to hold a 45? Or
No.
would I rather he's working with a 9mm and something that
Right.
we can get him integrated into really quick? So
Yeah.
that's my approach. And again, that's where that kind of consolidation. Yeah, I've got a list. I still want to add a matching pair of 357 lever gun and 357 revolver. It's a cool
Yeah.
round. I like it.
Yeah.
We can deer hunt on public ground with 357. Cool.
Mhm.
It's a really great nightstand gun for home defense, personal defense. Cool. I can do some double duty. I can
Yeah.
build some redundancy in. I'm going to add a caliber in multiple platforms
Right. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
build that redundancy in.
Yeah.
And that's really the positive side of redundancy. But the other side there, and I'm dealing with it right now, and I'm working on trying to make some changes, is redundancy can be bad too, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So forever I was on team 30-06. Like
Mhm. Yep.
that was my that's the and even in Indiana we couldn't deer hunt with it until just a few years ago. But 30-06 was my you just want a general purpose all around rifle caliber.
Right.
It's the case against the 30-06 is very small and very poor. It's just
Yeah.
there's a reason that 125 years later it's still probably one of the 5
Yeah.
most popular calibers in rifles. It just
Yep.
there's a reason for it. But I had a 30-06 rifle, and it's a combo set, and it was fine. But here recently I added an AR-10. Obviously that's
Mhm.
caliber, it's chambered in the 308 7.62. Those are redundant. That's
Yeah.
To me, that's bad redundancy. There isn't anything that I was going to do with that 30-06 single action multi-barrel rifle that I couldn't do with the AR-10 platform. Like
Right.
it's the
Yeah.
same gun.
Yeah.
And all things considered, if I had every other gun I ever wanted, then great, I'll keep them both. But I look at it like, okay, there's these two things they're taking up the same amount of space in my gun safe. They're making
Yeah.
me keep another round on hand that I have to
Right.
shop for, and they're not doing anything differently.
Right. Yeah.
So that's where, redundancy kind of can cut against you as well. I'd rather find somebody to take that 30-06 off my hand and turn those proceeds into that 357
Right.
that's doing something a little bit different
Right.
than
Yeah.
what the 308 was. And actually, I just did a blog about this not that long ago. Myself and
Mhm.
Alan Clemens, we just kicked up a new blog. It's Tag Soup Adventures, tagsoupadventures.com. And Will actually kind of helped get the website up and going here recently. But
Yep.
I I did a piece about the ammo shortage, but then I did that comparison of the 30-06 and the 308. Everybody loves
Yeah.
caliber debates, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we're on
Yep.
Twitter, we're on Facebook.
Yeah. You
Those
can't escape it.
There's always an argument, and like I said, I love the 30-06 round. It's a great round. But I think there's a real argument to be made that the 308 is the more flexible platform.
Right. Yeah.
So you can, if you're interested, you can find that over at Tag Soup Adventures. And again, you can tell me why I'm right or wrong over there. But
Yeah.
it's just there. What makes the 30-06 so great is what makes the 308 so great. Like,
Right. Yeah.
because there's so much overlap. And I think that's the part that gets missed. And you see it with shotguns too. I mean, how many go to any upland camp and see the guys arguing about 12 versus 16 or 16 versus 20 or 28 versus 410, or there's
All day.
it's nonstop, because
Yeah.
if you use the 28, then clearly the 28 is the best solution, and then anybody that uses a 410
Right.
is an idiot, even though the amount of crossover is more than not. To me, it's the same with 30-06 and 308. I've got some feedback from people that are, they're losing their mind. How could you make that decision? It's like, well, did you read the article? Because I kind of explained how I got there. But 30-06 and 308 are largely the same caliber. They're largely doing the same thing. And especially with modern firearms and modern components, like, you can't go wrong. It's kind of,
Yeah.
we talked about it in the last episode. It's kind of like trucks. Like,
Right. Yeah.
you can argue Ford and Chevy all day. At the end of the day, 70% of the components in those two trucks came from the same supplier. Like,
yeah, exactly.
you might like one more than the other, but at the end of the day, they're way more similar than they are different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So that's really, and like I said, it comes down to your priorities. If you like having a bunch of different calibers and that's a part of the fun to you, hey, you're going to have absolutely zero judgment from me, because I would love to have like 20 more options, right? But if the ammo shortage has you kind of questioning what it is you're trying to manage and what it is that you're trying to maintain, I think you could probably take a good look at your gun safe, and maybe find some firearms or find some calibers that maybe you just didn't enjoy as much as you thought you would, or whatever the case may be. And maybe you can turn those into some other guns that you'll use a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And to me, like I said, I'm coming at it more from handguns and rifles and that side of it. But I would assume, like I said, I kind of alluded to it, it's same kind of on the upland side with the shotgun thing, right? Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah. I stock. So I'm forever preparing to take people. I mean, I have a whole program about taking people upland hunting. So I always, I keep kind of an array of gauge and shot size, just knowing my my target species is one of 3 on any given day. So I kind of, a lot of people will push. Some people want to go number 4s on pheasants, which I feel is a little extra potentially, but I usually keep just 5s and 6s on hand in 20 and 12 gauge. My main gun is a 20 gauge over and under, and that's the one I lend out to people all the time. And I have a 12 gauge pump and now a 12 gauge semi-auto, and I just keep everything in usually I keep it all in 3-inch just to keep it even, instead of farting around between 2 3/4 and 3-inch, because they all take 3-inch. And yeah, and that's where the forgetfulness comes in, because I don't if it's 3-inch and 12 or 20 gauge, I buy a box and move on. And like I said, over the last probably 5 years, I just collected a ton of it. And then the 12 gauges are for everything else too. I mean, I could take the 20 gauge turkey hunting, but the 12 gauges are what I take turkey hunting, or if I tag along on a waterfowl hunt or something, that's what I take. But yeah, I'm of similar mind. I like to keep things pretty simple. I don't need 14 different guns that are 14 different caliber or gauge, making sure it all aligns, because frankly, I don't trust myself to remember all of it anyway.
right.
And I'm just not that exposed to rifles. We kind of, talked about it. Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier before we started recording, but I grew up shooting deer with buckshot behind dogs. It was illegal to hunt with a deer rifle in eastern central Virginia. So I just started getting into rifles over the last couple of years. Um, so yeah, all I've had to worry about is shotgun ammo because I have one, well, I have two rifles, and that's the end of it. They're two different calibers, and then I don't have to worry about anything else. And I was smart enough to, when I got my 6.5 Creedmoor, I found a round I liked and kind of saw the writing on the wall and bought like 5 boxes. And it's a deer rifle.
Right.
I'm
You're
not,
not going out
I'm
to the
not,
range and just burning through a couple hundred rounds
yeah,
because it's fun to do it.
it's sighted in. I shoot it to check zero and check myself, and that's it. Like I don't go burn through, I still have 3 of those boxes. So
Right.
I'm good, and I've had it for 2 years. So at this rate, I'm going a box a year. I'm good for another 2 or 3,
Mhm.
maybe more if my seasons keep going the way they have.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on my waterfowl and my turkey loads at this point, since the
Yeah.
season is ending soon, and that's where I'm not going to really make it out anytime soon, but that's another story, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, all right, I think we'll probably just go ahead and wrap this one up. This is just be a little bit of a shorter episode. Just like I said, wanted to touch on that ammo shortage, and it is something that
Absolutely.
I think it's making people question. Either they're questioning how and when and how much effort they put into procuring ammunition. They're debating in a lot of instances how much they're willing to pay. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
conversation I've had with a lot of guys. Is I'm not willing to pay 80 cents a round for 9mm. I'm not willing to pay
Right.
$1.25 a round for 223. And those are, we get into a situation like this, and even without getting into the political side of it, there you need to start planning for those eventualities of,
Yeah.
A, how much do you need to keep on hand, and B, how much are you comfortable investing to make sure that you have it on hand. But
Right.
again, the ounce of prevention is always worth a pound of cure. So how can you organize your gun safe and prioritize what you're doing to, just take some of the pain out of this type of a situation in general?
Yeah. Absolutely. So now we're moving to the draft, right?
We're moving to the draft. Like I said, we're gonna kind of, the every one of these shows, we're gonna have our segment, and then we're gonna kind of alternate between the parting shot and then putting together some sort of a draft. And so for this episode, we're gonna be drafting our top 3 hunting calibers. And I think it's probably your turn to go first, since I led with the parting shot last
That's
last
right.
episode. So we'll let you go ahead and kick off the draft.
So I've already firmly planted on myself on knowing very little about rifles. I mean, I get them, but I've not shot everything out there to know a ton. So my first choice will be the one that a lot of people make fun of me for, is a 6.5 Creedmoor. And I I just like shooting it. Like I said, I don't go out and just shoot it to shoot it. I shoot it to sight it in and check zero and stuff. But it's a fun round to shoot. The ballistics are nice. And when I was doing the research before I got it, I asked a lot of people smarter than me what I should get, because my goals with it were I wanted a lightweight platform that's going to spend 80+% of it time chasing whitetails in Wisconsin. And then the other would be potentially mule deer and maybe cow elk. And I know some people are saying, oh, you better not shoot an elk. Well, I think it'd be okay. I've read enough and I've talked to enough people where it's like, should it be your dedicated elk gun for all eternity? Probably not, maybe not. But if your goal is to go to Colorado and bring home a cow, you're fine.
I
And
think we
and
get the
my and
job
I
done.
think the key there is my goals are to, I don't like shooting at distance like 400 yards. That was never my goal. Every shot would be, in my mind, well under 200, closer to 100. So, and that's just personal preference and knowing
Mhm.
my shooting abilities as new to shooting rifles. I don't trust that I can be super accurate at 400 yards, and I don't necessarily enjoy that type of hunting. And if you do, all the power to you. Like, I don't care, but that was my motivation, is under 200 yards, can I kill these 3 species of animal? And the resounding answer I got from experts was yes. So I was like, okay,
Well,
6.5 Creedmoor it is.
and that, it's we're gonna actually touch on it, I think, in the next episode, in a little bit different way. But um, the ballistics of not just the 6.5, but of a lot of rounds. There's your muzzle ballistics, and then there's your ballistics at 200 and 300 and
Right.
400 and 500
Exactly.
yards. And the simple fact, whether you want to believe me or not, what I'm telling you is factual. Your shots are very rarely as far as you think they are going to be.
Yeah.
That's just it. You don't have to shoot 400 yards to go on an elk hunt.
Right. Yeah.
You don't have to. I'm in Northeast Indiana, kind of same thing. Rifles weren't even legal for deer season here until a few years ago. And oh, it's rifle season, I better get sighted in for 300 yards. Where in Northeast
Right, yeah.
Indiana are you shooting 300 yards? You're crossing two properties in a lot of places shooting 300 yards. Like, it's
Yeah,
just
exactly.
not. Yes, you could, but the 6.5 at 115 yards on a cow elk, I'll take that shot all day.
Yeah.
And I gave, when we were having our pre-show meeting and talking about it, and said we're leading with the 6.5. I said, hey, you want to go clickbait? We can go clickbait. You're going to get some people's dander up, but it's
Yep.
that 6.5. There's a reason that's the sweet spot for a lot of things. It's
Yeah.
a really good balance of a heavy enough bullet to give you a lot of stabilization downrange for a lot of downrange accuracy.
Yeah.
It's not a punishing round to shoot.
Right.
So it's comfortable for a lot of folks to shoot and to shoot accurately, because they're not preempting their trigger pull, worrying about what this thump is going to be. And then at the other end, you still have 125, 140 grains of very angry lead headed the other direction. So no, I think it's a really good selection, truthfully, in terms of covering a lot of ground.
And the gun I built was built to be lightweight, so I wanted something that wouldn't be punishing and was easy to move around and pack in without snagging on everything or adding 15 pounds. I mean, I can't remember right off the top of my head. I should have looked at it, but it's the Savage 110 lightweight Storm, and then I put a Maven scope on it that's only 12 ounces. So the whole gun
You're
is like
probably under 7 pounds.
Yeah, it's
7.2, something like that, probably.
Yeah, it's under 7 pounds loaded. So
Right.
it's like I can hike all day every day, and again, not taking a shot at 400 yards, I'm happy.
That's not the rifle that you want a 300 Weatherby mag in. It's just not.
Right.
It's just not. That's not the platform for that round. No, I think I think especially how you're using it, that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to tip my hand a little bit here on that 30-06 versus 308 argument, and I'm going to take the 308 off the board. If you'd asked me this question 3 years ago, I'd probably go the other way. I'd probably take 30-06. But for me, what ultimately wins out is, by choosing the 308, I'm really kind of getting 2 rounds, because of the interchangeability of the 7.62 and 308. Those are completely interchangeable platforms. Rifles chambered for one or the other can shoot the other, and ammunition can go through both. And it's, to find a good rifle in 30-06 is not hard. You want to find a good good hunting rifle in 30-06, a good bolt action rifle, you're going to find it. But if you want to be in that MSR platform, if you want to be in the AR-10 platform, you're going to be in a 308. And being a short action as opposed to a long action, and the options that you have in going with a rifle that way, I'm going to take the 308, and I'm going to be very happy with how it's going to perform for how I'm going to use it. I use that for whitetails in Indiana. I would take that on an elk hunt. You got no problem. If you want to go to Alaska and chase stuff way bigger, a 308, you can go up to 220 grain slugs in a 308, just like you can a 30-06. And that's pretty potent medicine for all but the most dangerous game on earth, to be perfectly honest. So I think you're going to be in pretty good shape to go 308. All right, it's back to you, sir. What's your second rifle round off the board?
Again, asserting my Lack of experience. I'm going 22. I like them. That's about the only rifle I've spent a significant amount of time with. I have two. Both were kind of family hand-me-downs from grandparents, and they're just a lot of fun. Like you can plink, you can hunt, you can take your kid out with it, and they can have a blast. Like and I have a few of those, so it's just a fun round to have. And if it's small game to target to prepper to whatever you want to do, it's a solid round.
No, I mean, we're drafting 3 rifles to hunt the rest of your life with.
Yeah,
22 covers a lot of ground.
yeah,
I've talked to game wardens that have told me in no uncertain terms, 22 long rifles probably killed more deer than just about any other round out there.
there's a whole bunch of headless deer
exact
in
there's
fields with 22 holes in them.
with 22 holes in them, and
Yep.
it's like I said, we're choosing 3 rifles to hunt the rest of our life, and we're not always chasing elk, right? So
Yeah,
I love my 308, but you're going to be real hungry trying to eat squirrel you took with a 308. And so, if you're trying to cover the whole gamut, the 20, I'm a little disappointed because that was going to be my last pick, and I thought I'd be able to sneak that one by you, but you took it off the board. So
I
my
feel
my
like I won
next
something.
yeah, see, you're sitting here qualifying yourself. Well, I don't really know anything about rifles, but here I'm going to take what Trent wanted to take. So I'm going to go 223 next. I guess I'm just going to stack the NATO rounds up, and 223
Yeah,
and 556. They're not interchangeable like 308 and 762 are. But if I'm taking the 223, anything chambered in 556, I can still run through.
right.
So I'm going to take the 223, and it's, like I said, we went 308. So I've got large game covered. So now I can go, quite a bit smaller. I can go down to predator hunting,
Yeah,
some spots I can do hogs, whatever the case may
yeah,
be. And should you end up having to be, using that rifle against 2-legged game, there's that works pretty well too. So in terms of just availability and flat shooting, and again, for a trainer rifle to be able to get a kid involved
yeah,
and get
yeah,
them shooting and get their confidence up and not have them scared of recoil, I like the 223. So that's where we're going. And again, you've got your flexibility of platforms. You want a bolt
yeah,
action,
yeah.
got a bolt action. You want to go the AR-15 route, you got all kinds of MSRs. So the world is your oyster. Last
Yep.
selection, Will. Last selection in the rifle draft. What are you going with?
The complete opposite direction of everything else I said, and just going with the 50 BMG. Call it good. As
just go full bore. If you're gonna
yeah,
go full bore.
yeah.
Love it.
No, we were, as we discussed prior to the show, just going over different rounds, and kind of talking through different stuff. A joke was made. I am indeed allergic to deer hair. Um, and then this way I can just turn it inside out and be good to go. I don't
And
have to
you're
actually do
good.
anything.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about slamming Benadryl and wearing the shoulder gloves the whole time. The deer's just done right there.
I think we kind of like, as we look, and I've still got a selection left. I think, you kind of have the fun list and I kind of have the function list, I think is how it kind
Yeah,
of ended up sorting out.
I think
So
that speaks to a few things, honestly. But
yeah,
I'll
nobody will ever confuse me for being fun. That's 100% true. So last choice for me, and we'll wrap the show up. Go nostalgia and go a little bit romantic on you. I'm gonna take the 30-30.
mm-hmm.
First of all, because I absolutely love lever guns.
Yeah,
Everybody wants to be John Wayne, right? And
heck yeah,
his is cowboy action. I'll take the 30-30. I took a really nice deer this last year with a 30-30.
yeah,
And they're fun. They're nice, flexible, like I said, I'm Northeast Indiana. So brush gun is a stupid
yeah,
term that is overused, and I categorically refuse to actually use it. But for, quick handling, quick shooting, short distances, 30-30, and then same thing, way flexible. Hogs,
yeah.
deer, elk, mule deer, whatever, you're gonna, be able to deliver a pretty potent load with the 30-30. So
I
wrap
dig it.
that up. I went 308. I went 223. I went 30-30. Will went the 6.5 Creedmoor, the 22 long rifle, and the 50 BMG. So comment or leave us a review on iTunes and let us know whose list you think is the better list and which list you would rather have for yourself. Or if you'd rather berate us and tell us all the ways that we were wrong, go for it. Do that too.
Absolutely. As always, you can find me at The Will to Hunt on all social platforms. And thewilltohunt.com, you can email or read stuff we've written. And to plug the article mentioned earlier, tagsoupadventures.com is where you can see Trent's latest article on ammo shortage and how to deal with it. So that's all we have for today.
See you, everybody.
Thanks.